Hey guys, this is Kevin and Aisha Shelton with the Marriage and Real Estate Podcast,
where we navigate partnership, prosperity, and parenthood.
This week's episode is sponsored by Blount Wine Therapy. Blount Wine Therapy utilizes localized honey to enhance health benefits and anti-aging properties. All wines are handcrafted and labeled by hand. You can find Blount Wine Therapy at your local Total Wine and Spirits in the local wine section and tell them the Marriage and Real Estate Podcast sent you. You can find the product also online at www.blountwinetherapy.com and on Instagram at Blount Wine Therapy.
All right, now that she's finished with all the actual information, I just want to say this wine is bomb. Go follow Blount Wine Therapy on Instagram. Go to their website, buy the wine. Marriage and Real Estate Army, go out, buy Blount Wine. Support the podcast by buying Blount Wine.
Because we need wine when you're married and have children.
That's true.
And in real estate. Hey guys, this is Aisha Shelton.
And this is Kevin Shelton.
Welcome back to the Marriage and Real Estate Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody.
So today...
We don't count episode numbers no more.
I don't think we should.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So today we have a topic that Kevin's bringing to the table. Not that it's not a good topic. You just have to bring me up to speed.
Okay. So I want to talk about the FIRE movement. So I went down an internet wormhole, as I do, about the FIRE movement and retiring early and all the internet, YouTube, millennial people talking about retiring at 30 and whatever. So but before I do that, can I say we have a sponsor and I'm so excited?
You can.
So we have a sponsor and I'm so excited. It's Blount Wine. There we go. Ow, check the bottle. Black owned, local
Woman
to Texas, woman owned.
Double minority.
Supporting the bees.
Supporting the bees.
Because it's made from local honey.
Oh.
That
honey.
supports bees. Bees support the environment. Park Street is all about nature. Boom, synergy. Got it.
Too much.
All right, sorry. Anyway, it's good wine. So
yeah,
go follow them. Follow their pages. Blount Wine at what is it? It's Blount Wine Therapy at Instagram. Because the full name is Blount Wine Therapy.
Yep.
And blountwinetherapy.com.
Yes.
I believe. Anyway, there's an ad. You'll see it. You'll get all the information. Support the podcast by drinking our sponsor. Thank you. That's my disclaimer.
So the FIRE movement?
Anyway, FIRE movement. All right. So FIRE stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early.
Okay.
That's what FIRE stands for.
Okay.
So whenever people like, oh, we made FIRE or we got a FIRE number or FIRE, that's what they're talking about.
Financial independence, retire early. Okay.
Yeah.
So sounds like a bunch of cap to me, but
no. It's not cap. What it is, so you remember when we were on our Dave Ramsey kick, right? Yes. For the very short time that we were Dave Ramseyites. This is kind of
short of a time. It wasn't that short of a time.
It was before real estate.
It was definitely before real estate.
So we were like, oh yeah, we're going to save money and we're going to whatever. And so this is kind of based in that. So the premise of the FIRE movement is you create financial independence by saving money and investing your money to the point that you can live off the residual income from your investments. But here's the catch, right? Like the numbers are crazy. So you save basically like $1 million, you get I think it was like $30,000 a year salary or some shit like that.
Okay.
Like the numbers aren't, I think the max salary was like you save $3 million and you get like 80 grand a year to live off of. So you have to live frugally. That's a point of it, right?
Okay.
So that's financial independence, but it's also kind of like financial responsibility.
Okay.
So debt free, you put all your money in the market or whatever, and you live off the residuals of that. So we don't really do all that, and we don't really believe in all that.
We don't.
I mean, we don't believe in.
No, I'm not disagreeing. I'm saying that we do.
Do
not.
Like
no.
we don't. No. So I mean, I also personally, and this is just me, I don't believe in traditional retirement, right? So I've never really believed in traditional retirement. That stems from me really, really enjoying what I do. So it doesn't feel like working. So I don't feel like I need to retire from anything. So that's kind of a premise to it, which there's some arguments to why the FIRE movement doesn't work. A lot of people argue that, right?
So tell me how the FIRE movement works in the realm of real estate, right? Like, is there some, I don't know, flagship couple or flagship person who is on the FIRE movement and they utilize real estate to get there?
So I saw a couple of couples that have rentals, but
Okay.
nobody that's just like all in real estate. It's mostly people who participate in the stock market
Okay.
or in different markets like that, because they're living off residual income they earn from their investments and drawing down their stocks and stuff over and their savings over time. So for a real estate investor, it's not necessarily retirement, right? Because you're still kind of working, right? You still have to manage property, you still have to do different things. So you're not free. Like,
But I'd like to think that it's retirement in the sense of you don't have to work for somebody else,
mhm.
and what you're working for or what you're managing is your own.
But see, I think that's the financial independence part. Now, I have seen some couples who go, I want the financial independence part, but not necessarily the retire early part.
Mhm.
And it's really based on your lifestyle. So, like, one of my thoughts was kind of lifestyle versus FIRE numbers or whatever. So when people say, "Oh, I'm going to live my whole life," I'm going to retire at 30 and live my life on $80,000 a year or whatever, and that's like great. But how long does that realistically last as your lifestyle changes?
Mhm.
So one of the kind of devil's advocate points videos that I watched was talking about how, and it was actually based on an article that one of the big fire movement guys wrote, how he retired at 30 and then regretted it.
Mhm.
So he talked about how basically when he retired, he was 30. He didn't necessarily think about inflation. He didn't think about health insurance.
Mhm.
He didn't think about having kids. So he ended up going back to the workforce at 40.
Okay, so he retired for 10 years and then came back.
Yeah, because he
Okay.
had a kid, needed health insurance.
Sure.
Money didn't stretch long enough. I saw some people talking about they had housing issues, or, like if your housing dramatically changes, now your mortgage rate or whatever goes up,
Mhm.
you can't live off that same amount of money, right? Or, if your lifestyle just changes. So
I think it sounds good, right? To have a FIRE number. It sounds good to not work, but I think what people will find is that if you're not working, what brings you purpose?
Mhm.
And maybe, you work for yourself instead of working for somebody else, or find what you're passionate about and make that the work. But I feel like I feel like the finality of it, like the end, this is my number, and then we do this after. Maybe if you had plans afterwards, like after this FIRE number, this is what I'm going to do. This will give me the purpose.
So that's what really brought up the statement in my mind. And I was listening to another kind of wormhole video. It said a lot of people are running from their jobs, right?
Right.
So the idea of retiring early is, oh man, you get out of this hellhole of a job kind of thing.
Mhm.
So they said, it's not what you're retiring from, what do you retire to, right? Because most people want to retire from something. Well, what are you retiring to?
Right.
And if it's just laying on the beach, and also that was another point the guy made in the article, he got bored. Like he said, there was only so many months that he wanted to lay on the beach. And then, what else are you going to do with your time? I think humans infinitely need to work to feel purpose and fulfilled.
Mhm.
So when you have nothing to do, where's the life fulfillment?
Yeah. I think for our audience who come to hear about like real estate and how, how we navigate real estate and managing that, and our FIRE number. I mean, I think we can I don't know that we have a number. We have a
Yeah.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's the live below your means part, that not live below your means. It's the live frugally to live better later that I'm really not a fan of.
Well, I mean, so for us, specifically us, we got the financial independence part down. We work for ourselves currently, right? So we're technically financially independent of somebody else's job.
Yeah.
The retirement early part is the kind of gray area is subject to whatever your idea of retirement is, right? Because sitting here recording this podcast, to what I did, we retired from our jobs, quote unquote. Actually, we had a whole damn like retirement thing for you. We were like, you retiring, you remember that?
Oh yeah,
And I bought you like all those Louis Vuittons.
you did.
Yeah, so
That
like
was
you
nice.
retired from your job
Yes.
to go work for yourself. So that's a form of retirement. And they're very strict with the fire movement stuff. Like there's supposed to be lean fire where you retiring at like $30,000 a year. Regular fire where I guess it's like $50,000 a year, and then like fat fire where like you want a greater lifestyle, so it's like 80 plus.
This is some millennial stuff. If I
Definitely some
ever heard it, like, don't get me wrong, I'm a millennial too, but we just
do too much.
That's too much.
And they tie it to your savings rate, basically, right? So you have to, the idea of saving yourself rich or saving yourself free just never really appealed to me. I think it's how you leverage your income to create that independence that will get you there. Not like, hey, I put 100% of my paycheck in the bank and I do nothing with my life, and I'm gonna put 100% of my paycheck in the bank for 15 years, so then I could spend all this money that I was not living life to spend. What if you die? Like, what if you don't get there?
I mean, and I think, because when I think about social media, I don't know one person, specifically millennials, I mean, unless you're social media less, like you don't have social media, that doesn't look at that kind of stuff, and you either feel like intimidated or you're like, I'm just not doing enough. But what we don't hear very much of is the stories of how the downside of it,
yeah.
the downside of it. And it's the same thing with real estate, right? Because, man, so much cap out here in these real estate streets.
Look. But, you know, the thing about it is, that's one of the things that as a millennial, especially younger millennials, we don't know what's coming on the other side of that bend, right? So everybody's like, oh, I just want to retire. You're running from something. You don't know what the other end of that is, right?
What did you used to say? You don't have an
income problem. You have a job problem.
A job problem. Yeah.
No, 100%. Because if you just hate what you do, you need to create enough space for you to find something new to do. But doesn't mean do nothing. It means do something that you love or that you're passionate about. I mean, you could take you, for example. Now, when you get up, you're much more purpose-driven than you were at your job, right? It's not enough time in the day for you.
Ever.
I can't keep you at damn home. I'll get you to do the stuff around the house because you're so busy working.
Yeah.
If you didn't enjoy the work, you wouldn't do that, because you definitely weren't running to work before. Like, you'd be like, oh, it's 8:55. I got to be at work at 9. Whew. Ugh. Like, that was your whole like thing. So now you like, it's 7 o'clock. I got to get these kids out here so I can get to the office.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely true. And then it's like, what happens after you stop working, right? Financially, because you get old. So the amount of money that you need when you're 30 compared to the amount of money that you need when you're 78 or whatever, I imagine looks different. And maybe that goes up or down. I don't know.
Well, so it goes up in some areas and down in some areas, right? So healthcare costs go up, right? Your lifestyle that you want to live might go down, right? You ain't eating out as much, you're not doing as much physical stuff, but your cost to maintain life costs more, right? Compared to 30, you're healthy, healthcare cost is low, but you want to go to the club, or you want to go on vacation, or you want to do the things that you want to do, your lifestyle costs more. So it's really about how and where you spend your time. And a lot of people are making the decision to sacrifice, especially in their young years, the time to get that quote unquote freedom in the back end. And honestly, my opinion, and also this is shared by a lot of other videos too, you're sacrificing your life, right? Like you're giving up your best years where you could be living for the years that life isn't as abundant. Yeah, you might have more money and not have to report to work, but who you are at 30 and who you are at 60 are two different people. Your body moves different. Everything is different. So yeah, you might have a little bit more money, but you can't trade. Ask Warren Buffett. Like, if Warren Buffett could go back to 20, I'm quite sure he'd give every single $1 billion he has.
So what intrigued you about the FIRE movement and made you want to bring it to the Marriage and Real Estate podcast? Tear that in for me.
It's a fallacy. Like, the idea of it. So the couple, it was in my queue or whatever, you know, the videos that automatically start on YouTube. And what happened was, this video started and it was from a financial couple, and they were like, oh, we retired for like $3 million, right? We saved $3 million. We retired. Now we live this life in another country and we live off of $50,000, $60,000 a year. And I'm looking at my life and I'm like, yeah, that wouldn't work for me. That doesn't seem like a thing that I would want to do, and not live in another country or not travel the world or whatever. But I want to live a much grander life than $30,000 to $80,000 would afford me, right? I also don't think that builds a legacy, right? Because yeah, you're retiring early, but you're not building anything else for the people to come behind you, because it goes down over time, right? So your investments last until they last. It doesn't build a legacy for your family, right? You're not investing your money. You're saving your money to invest it to live off the dividends for, it might be a long period of time in your life, but it doesn't extend past generations.
I don't know why I thought you wanted to talk about the FIRE movement, because it was like a good thing for you, or you thought it was good.
No, I honestly think it's BS, right? I think it's capped. And not that it's capped like people don't do it or people can't live it. I think most people...
It's over-glamorized.
It's over-glamorized.
It looks really sexy.
Another thing that some of the video people said is there's very little transparency in the people teaching the FIRE movement. So they make a bunch of money off YouTube, but they're like, hey, we retired, we don't work. But you're spending money, and like you got $500,000, 500,000 views on your video, and you telling people you ain't getting paid. Right. Why are you selling courses? Right? Like that's cap too, right? So you think about it, people need to be redirected to maximize their life by how they spend their time. And it's like I do say, you have a job problem, not an income problem. If you concentrated on doing what you're passionate about or what you love or what you enjoy and made life better, you wouldn't need to retire early. That's my point.
I agree. I feel like that's what I did, right? Like I was in my career, and while it gave me purpose, I didn't wake up on fire about it. But I do wake up on fire about real estate. I do wake up on fire about the development that we're doing as well. So, I mean, I really think the FIRE movement should be like, fire the job that you don't like to, hire something that you do like.
That makes 1,000% sense. And the funny thing is, it's also market dependent, right? So a lot of people preach like, oh, once everybody quits their jobs, then the world will be this great place. So some of the...
Time out. What? Everybody's going to quit their jobs?
That's what some of the cases of some of the FIRE people are arguing for. It's like, if everybody saved their money to quit their jobs, we'd all be retired and there'd be no workforce kind of thing. Like, that's the, I guess, utopia.
Time out. So who's going to work at the grocery store so that I
exactly.
can get like that? First of all, so a few things. One, that doesn't work. I don't know where that works. Maybe in a small little village somewhere.
No, because who's gonna support the village? Who's gonna turn the lights on when you need to pay your light bill?
That doesn't work. And two, that just assumes that everybody is going to buy into this idea, and clearly the Sheltons don't. So
no,
everybody, it doesn't work.
You make it sound like the Sheltons.
You know how I feel about us.
No, I mean, the thing about it is, it's very market dependent. So if the market tanks because there's no workers and job rates are crazy, your investment's gonna tank.
Y'all, I'm a Capricorn. I exist in like reality, not like, oh, if all of these things were perfect, then this would be the outcome. Listen, everything's not perfect. That's certainly not going to be the outcome. So let's hang out in reality. That's where I'd like to hang out, not this FIRE movement utopia.
I mean, and it works for some folks. It's just not what I believe is the total solution for everybody, right? I think we always need people to work. We need physicians. If all the physicians who make high incomes retired, who's gonna be the doctors?
Well, and see, I don't work in absolutes like that, right? Like, there are people who will retire early at 30 and live these very frugal lives, and that works for them, right?
No.
And then there are the people who will work their entire lives, and I think everybody is essential. And so all the way down to the man who picks up our trash, like, respect everybody for each level that they're at and where they live their life.
Where they add value.
because they add value, right? Because if nobody picked up the trash, right,
then we'd have a bunch of trash everywhere.
Then we'd have a problem, right? So everybody plays a vital role
in our economy and the world.
In our economy and the existence of how we operate and move about in the world. So this is an interesting topic that I thought it was something good until you started talking about it.
But I sent you the articles.
You did. I did not read them.
I mean, it was just something that kind of triggered me because I was like, man, people out here selling this false Kool-Aid. It's like real estate cap, right? It's like, yeah, the funny thing is there's so many people selling education or selling the idea of these experiences and not really the reality of it. Mm-hmm. And we've always prided ourselves on giving a very real view of what our life is, right?
Is it really that real though?
You don't think so?
Everybody don't know all our business.
No, but you can put all your business, but we give a general view of the experiences. Like when we left our jobs, we had an episode talking about leaving our jobs. When, life got crazy, we talk about our relationship or whatever. Like with our business, we talk about our struggles in our businesses. So, we don't just say, hey, look, everything is rosy. Man, we bought 1,000 properties today because marriage and real estate, all we do is buy real estate, look glamorous, and make this money. No, that's not life. I had to convince
you not to do that, though. Kevin want to talk about all the rosy stuff. And I'm like, the reason why people tune in, the reason why people want to hear is because it's because y'all want to hear the authentic stuff, right? Because that's the cap of social media. Like, that's the reason why social media has people down, because all you see is their highlight reel and all of the wonderful things that they've done. And it doesn't talk about the struggles in their marriage, the struggles in real estate. Like,
that's the cap and the trap.
That's the stuff that people connect with. I feel like that's the stuff that resonates with our audience. And so share more failures. We're like,
no, normalize failure.
I want to be that couple. I want to be that podcast that normalizes failure, right? So even with this FIRE movement.
That sounds counterintuitive.
Is it though? Why?
No, it just sounds counterintuitive. Like, I want to be the podcast that normalizes failure.
When I say normalize failure, like,
it
happens to everybody, right?
I'm with you 1,000%.
But that's like with this FIRE movement, right? So like, that gotta be tough, man.
No, so there was one.
Or you can't have
There was one chick that I watched, and she was bashing the FIRE movement, and she was like, I don't want to live like that. Oh. She's like, it's almost like a Grant Cardone. She's like, I don't want to live on a shoestring budget like a college student.
I want to live life and live life more abundantly. Isn't that what the Lord said? Come on, Lord. Come on, church.
And if that means we got to work, I'm down with working. I just want to enjoy what I do. You know what I mean? So in my mind, controlling how you spend your time is the best form of retirement. Because if we want to take off tomorrow and do whatever, we can. Because it's in our power.
We work hard, right? We work hard and we're compensated handsomely for the
based
hard
on our work
that we do. Yeah. But when we say, hey, I'm gonna dip out,
take some time off. It's our choice.
Can dip out, or we can go to brunch in the middle of the day with our friends on a weekday. I like that a lot.
I don't do that very often.
Okay, well, these days in this real estate market, I'm not. But I remember being at work and my friends would meet up for lunch and I got an hour. And
I remember that.
I am really like pushing it. It's like an hour and 20 minutes. And when I stopped giving a, I would be out for like 2 and 3 hours and I just saunter back into work like, yeah, I was with my friends.
The funny thing is, I never had those experiences. Like, for the last at least 10 years, I've built mad flexibility into my job. I've always
told you that you are atypical. Your situation was atypical.
I don't think that's atypical. I think that's a choice. You can negotiate freedom.
The bank teller who works at the bank has a schedule. The personal banker or the business banker that has the suit at Chase Bank, he got to go to lunch at 12 and come back at 1. He can't say,
but the business banker get to go entertain his clients and wine and dine and go out.
But he still has parameters. And as our
I had bosses, parameters.
You did kind of. You got your work done. Your parameter was get your work done, and you did whatever the hell you wanted, however you wanted.
Now, if you work in a job that has set hours and set schedule and whatever, that's a harder thing to do. I didn't work in that particular industry, so that wasn't my experience.
We have a lot of like couples where, the husband and wife are W-2 earners. They're school teachers. You know what I mean? You don't you don't go to lunch for 2 hours with your friends if you a school teacher.
But see, that's where the whole not income problem, job problem comes in. Because if you want that life and you don't enjoy teaching, then you do need to find something else. Look at House Buying Brian. He was a teacher, right? Like he said, you know what? I don't like this. I'm going to go redo this career thing and do something else. Then he went and worked as oil and gas something and made a bunch of money. And then he left that to go work in real estate.
Well, and here's what's interesting. He does like teaching, and so he's teaching now.
That's true.
He's teaching wholesaling now. So, I mean, it brought him right back to
the
core
skill
of what
set.
he did.
He
and
just
the
didn't
skill
like
sets
the
what he did.
parameters.
It was the parameters. And so creating the parameters that you want. So maybe you do, like maybe you are a good teacher, or maybe you do enjoy teaching, but creating a job or a business that gives you the freedom that you're looking for, because most people want freedom.
And I'm just saying, do something, right? Like if you retire, and then you go teach kids or whatever you're passionate about doing, but the idea of, or what they're selling of, you retire and everything stops, you're not responsible to do anything else. I think that's going to leave people more unfulfilled than anything else, right? Because you need some type of work to feel fulfilled. You need some type of work to feel valued in society. And when you don't have that, it don't work.
So y'all, this podcast episode is we can give thanks to Kevin for going down a wormhole about the FIRE movement. I'm always trying to, and you know what, I really want to be more intentional about getting back on marriage and real estate topics, because I feel like that's what people come to us for, right? So you'll hear me a lot saying like, and about this real estate or about this, like,
and as soon as you pick a topic and bring it to the table, we talk about said topic.
Y'all want to see a marriage fight?
Yeah, let's do it.
No, I'm not gonna fight you on camera.
Then we can make up.
You are so weird when you do that. I hate that.
Why? Why is it weird?
I love you.
I love you too. But why is that weird?
I don't know, because it's in front of the world.
It ain't that many people.
Yeah, Kevin, you keep saying that. It's a lot of people.
Okay, fine. Blount Wine Therapy.
Get all weird. Okay, so wrap us up. What do you feel like this episode? What did you want to come out of this episode? Where do you feel like we landed in this episode, like as a couple, the Sheltons and stuff?
So the thing that I want to convince other couples to is there's no wrong way, right? There's no right way. There's no wrong way. It's about what you and your family want to do, right? So if that's a FIRE number and FIRE retirement, great. If it's real estate and doing what we do, great. If it's working your job, investing your money, you want to have a strategy that works for your family to build wealth, however you build that wealth. But I want to make sure that people understand that regardless of whichever way you pick, you got to do something, right? You got to educate yourself, because even the FIRE folks actually do something. They just don't communicate that that's what they're doing, right? So there is no such thing as retirement. You might retire from one thing to another thing, but you got to add value to somewhere for somebody to something. And even if your job is managing your own investments, that's work. You know what I mean? So I guess check in, don't check out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think because I didn't know what the FIRE movement was before we had this conversation, my thing would be, or what I got from today's podcast was, you have a job problem, an income problem, not a job problem, or a job problem, not an income problem.
Job problem, not an income
problem. A job
problem.
problem, not an income problem. Thank you. And so if we're going to fire anything on this FIRE movement, like, fire your current life, like fire the job.
If you don't like your life.
If you don't, no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you don't like your job, because we hear a lot of times people will say like, oh, I want to get into real estate because I don't want to work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is not
real estate is
the
a
right
bunch of
answer.
work.
That is totally not the right answer. So if you're going to fire anything, I know this is about the FIRE movement, but I'm saying like fire the job that you don't like, and find what you
and
do
hire
like,
the job that you
and
want.
hire the job that you want.
Or find it.
For sure. So I'm super excited to try all of the varieties of the Blount Wine Therapy. Thank you so much, guys, for sponsoring this episode. I'm about to pour up.
No, exciting. So we're going to go have wine. It's Kevin and Aisha.
the Marriage and Real Estate Podcast.
And Kevin and Aisha too.
And Kevin and Aisha too.
We out. Bye.